Hello, and thank you for joining us for our video today. I am very excited to introduce you to our guest, Nick Perry. Nick joins us with an interesting past and an even more interesting current career path. And I think that as you get to know what he's doing, coming from the experience that he has, you'll see clearly the reason why his current career overlaps so well with what we do at Drug Free Clubs of America with our drug prevention. My name is Angie Ferguson, and I am the Executive Director at Drug Free Clubs of America, and I'd like to introduce you to Nick Perry. Hello, Nick.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
Sure. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. It's
Absolutely.
really helpful. So I mentioned a little bit about your background and your current. So could you tell a little bit about your career path, sort of how things have gone for you over the past 20 years, how you got here?
Sure. Okay. So I went to college and I grew up in South Florida, and I went to college maybe 15 minutes down the road from where I grew up, Palm Beach Atlantic, and I graduated from there with a bachelor's in business management. And I never really knew what I wanted to do. I kind of had some ideas. I was actually going to be a lawyer. I was pre-law, started college, pre-law. I'm ready to go, right? Go in the first week. I'm not kidding. First week, sit in a law class, and the professor says, did everyone get that reading assignments that I assigned over the summer, and everyone read those books? And they're like these 500-page books. I'm like, no. And I'm looking around, everyone's down their heads. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Totally. And first night, he assigned so much homework. I walked out of that room, walked right in my counselor's office. I said, hey, I need to switch majors. This ain't for me. And so
day one.
yeah, literally. So it was the first week. So I was like, okay, so business, became it. Didn't really know. I wanted to be a sports agent or anything like that, and whatever. So go to college all 4 years, whatever. It's January and I'm graduating in May, and I have no idea. I wasn't really even thinking about it. My grandfather used to have all these off the wall ideas for me, you should go to this, you should be an electrician. What about the Navy? Would you ever think about getting your general contractor's license? Hey, my friend is a pilot, you'd be great. And I'm just brushing it off. So he tells me, you should be a firefighter. I have a friend, he's a firefighter. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. So and I had a very, very close friend, and we're a month apart exactly. We go to college on the same day, two different colleges. First day of summer after our freshman year, we meet up, and he says to me, he's like, college isn't for me. I'm gonna go to fire school. I'm gonna be a firefighter. My exact words to him was, you're throwing your life away. You need to go to college. You need to get a degree. Gosh. And I'm like, you're throwing your life away, man. That's exactly what I said to him. Grandfather tells me, be a firefighter. Kind of starts, whatever. I knew the Lord was kind of at work there, maybe a little bit. And I graduated in May, and I started EMT school in July. And then for the next 2 years, I went to EMT school and fire school. I became a paramedic. And the funny full circle is I ended up, my friend who I told was throwing his life away, we ended up working at the same fire department, working at the same station, same shift every day for a few years.
Wow.
And he's been there 3 years longer than I have. So it was always kind of a joke. Remember when you told me that,
And he's got seniority over you now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, it was always kind of a running joke, but it was cool though. I didn't really know what my plan was. I was a firefighter in the city of West Palm Beach for 15 years, a little over 15. And it was great. I started when I was 23, 24 years old. And I had a phenomenal time. I really learned a lot. It grew me up as a person, and I got to see a lot, experience a lot. And I loved it, and I just kind of felt as I was kind of reaching that 15-year mark, I kind of felt like I was being called to maybe a different chapter of life. I kind of felt like I was maybe being, sent in a different direction. Also, over the last 5 years, my wife and I, we own a gym in South Florida called Hard Exercise Works. As you can see from my graphic on this side,
oh, yeah.
my picture hanging on this wall right here. HEW stands for Hard Exercise Works in Palm Beach Gardens. And I love it. And so I think it was just time to kind of take a step of faith and leave the fire department and all the security that I've known and try our hand at business. My wife owns a couple businesses, and it's been exciting. I retired in January of this year. And I thought I was going to miss it a little more, and I really haven't looked back. I've just been looking forward, and I feel like that's been kind of the theme of my life lately: is don't look past, just look forward, and just keep moving forward and trust the plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, along the way, I was always a paramedic for the last 16, 17 years, and along the way, I became a nurse, and just the opportunity rose,
Happen to
and
become a nurse along the way.
yeah, it's kind of one of those things that just the opportunity presented itself. It was always something I wanted to do. And I found myself as I got older and more mature, I love learning. When I was in college, I used to have a professor and he used to always kind of joke. We'd say, "Can we get out early today?" And he's like, "School is the only thing that you're willing to get less for your money than what you paid. If you ordered a
Good
hamburger
point.
and if I gave you half of a hamburger, you would be upset with me. But if I let you out 30 minutes early, you're going to be excited." So as I got older, it kind of became that, I love learning and I love, that the medical field and the nursing aspect. So that was cool. I became a nurse and it's been great. It's been a great ride so far.
Wow, you're a professional student.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think we talked about this earlier. Our prevention program, Drug Free Clubs of America, was founded by firefighters,
Hmm.
and I think similar to a little bit of what you're talking about, they felt like they had to do something about what they witnessed every single day out on their runs, the
Hmm.
devastation and the loss of so much potential. Either even if somebody does make it through an overdose, what are the long-term effects of that? Just violence and death. And so, can you talk a little bit about what you may have witnessed? Because our firefighters were here in Cincinnati, Ohio, where our home base office is. And you
Right.
are in gorgeous West Palm Beach. So,
Yeah.
uh, so I have to think that there's a lot of similarities, but maybe some differences. So what did you witness when you were out there as a firefighter, EMT, nurse?
Yeah. 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 It was, I mean, the city of West Palm, and I think that when I didn't really know what the city kind of entailed until you get in there. And it is definitely a city that there is a lot of beauty, there's a lot of violence, and there's a lot of really nice affluent areas, and there's really a lot of low income areas and everything in between. And in my short 15-year career, I mean, I know that sounds like a long time, but there's a lot of these guys who are doing 30, 33, 35 years.
Yeah.
And in that short 15 years, there was so much that that we witnessed, that we were uh, seeing the inside of that kind of violent life and all those kind of things, and specifically about drugs and it was just so crazy that, I mean, the first kind of thing that comes to mind is, I mean this honestly, is it seems like it was a lot younger people. It wasn't the older people, the older population that you were seeing with like overdoses and things like that. It was younger, and that was kind of the harder thing on me, I think,
Sure.
is to
Yeah.
see someone who had such potential, that was in their teens or in their early 20s, and just to be able, just to throw their life away. And you know there was so many times where you see someone, you help them, you try to talk to them, you try to give them, a little bit of advice, and you don't, no judging, no any of that, but just like, "Hey, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, I know you want better. What can you do?" And they want to get better, and you see it, and you believe them, and they do, and I bet they believe it. And then I would go to them again a week later or a month later and see them again and again and again. It's that vicious cycle that was just so difficult. And I think that that's the hardest thing, is that when you're young, I mean, there is nothing that can stop you. I mean, the just that mindset of whatever you put your mind to, you can do. And when you see somebody who is losing that potential and is just gripped by addiction and drugs and depression and anxiety and fear and all those kind of things, that they just cannot break out of that, then
Mhm.
it's just that life is being lost. And that is the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah. And that reminds me of there's a race called the Buck 50, and you probably see the little
Yeah.
buck behind me.
Hmm.
So the Buck
Yep.
50 is a 150-mile relay race that is run in the Ross County, Ohio area. But I only bring this up because I know that there are a lot of very dedicated, hardworking runners who use running as an outlet in their own recovery story. So
Hmm.
they use it when they get, cravings and they use it as a positive outlet and a way to just get that out. And I would
Right.
imagine that, and just finding the overlap between the gym and drug prevention and teens. Do you have stories? Do you have people and regulars and customers that come in that
Yep.
have battled substance use disorder? They are living in recovery and they're using fitness and health as a way to keep them going?
Absolutely. So first off, I'd like to touch on the 150-mile relay race. I don't want to drive 150 miles, let alone run that far, but
Yeah.
that's impressive. That's impressive, Angie. So
No, I
I'm
haven't run
impressed.
it. I haven't run it.
Uh-huh.
It's a fundraiser for drug free
Yeah.
clubs. It funds 2,300 kids in Ross County, but it's
That's
10
so
man team.
crazy.
It's
That's
10
so
runners.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, 15 miles is still insane.
Oh,
But
it's crazy.
yeah, we do. I mean, absolutely, yes. We've owned the gym 5 years. Hard Exercise Works, and we have numerous clients that are in recovery, and we have some people who've been in recovery for 6 months. We've had people who have been in recovery for 30 years,
Mm.
and everything in between. And when you do talk to them, they do. I don't know what that's like. I can't speak to that personally, but when you talk to them, it is replacing that focus with something positive, right? So when they do feel that craving, like you said, or they feel an urge to do whatever, coming to the gym, knowing that they're replacing that with something healthy that is benefiting their lifestyle, it's not detracting from it. It's not going to take years off their life. It's adding to that. They're giving back to themselves almost, so to speak, and they're able to be healthier, exercise, right? And you're physically healthier, you're mentally healthier because you have the endorphins kicking in, you feel better about yourself, you showed up, you were part of something, you were part of something bigger than yourself, and you contributed to something, and I think also just being a part of that community, being a part of working out in a group setting, and it can be anything. It can be anything that you do that is positive, a positive influence in your life. And like you said, running you can run with a group of people, you can go run by yourself, but just that shifting that focus, and that's what life is all about, is just shifting that perspective, even that 1 degree, from going in this way to just a little bit to the side and say, okay, I'm gonna take this path. And I always hear that thing is like, if a plane takes off from Miami for London, and if it's off by 1 degree, it's going to land in like Spain or something like that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the
Interesting.
idea that if your life is going down this path and you want to change it, you don't have to worry about, I got to do 180 degrees. Yeah, okay, that's you just got to change it 1 degree, right? Because 1 degree is going to change the course of your life forever. It's going to constantly going up. So if you can kind of replace those negative feelings, those negative emotions, those negative cravings, urges, addictions, whatever that is, with anything positive, whether it's, even if it's not anything fitness related, taking a walk on the beach, setting yourself a time limit of like, I'm gonna go to a lake, I'm gonna go to a park, I'm gonna go to walk around my neighborhood for an hour. It doesn't have to be a distance thing. Go swim some laps, find what works for you, and just replace that negative with a positive.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And I think that sometimes, especially with the teenage group that we work with, I feel like sometimes it's hard for them to even recognize those moments where, hey, here's an opportunity to make a decision this way or that way. Like with our program, we have a set of comments that we get back from people where they have said, I didn't even realize that I had chosen to stay drug free.
Right.
And now that you've kind of pointed that out to me, they become proud of it and they realize that that is a path that they are going. But they're
Hmm.
more than likely going to have a moment where they need to make a choice. And,
Right.
they don't have to do this like hard fast, like get everybody to, say no to drugs, all that stuff. Although we love that for themselves, it can be as easy as, hey, I can't, I get tested. And it's just that 1 degree, it doesn't have to be hard.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be a big, huge grand gesture. It just has to be a personal choice about what's best for you. So that's
Right.
the prevention side of things for us. And I would imagine in fitness, there's a large amount of get that prevention going so that you don't have to do the recovery.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I always tell people when I talk to people at the gym is so there's a guy that I work out with every day. Our classes typically range from maybe 15 to 30 people in a class in a group setting. And there's a guy, that I work out with, and he is 73 years old, and he runs the mile, he lifts weights, he uses a barbell, he does everything, does burpees, he does every movement in there. And and it's that idea, that mentality of, you're talking to someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and it says, you can pay the money now and invest in your health, or neglect your health for the next 30 years and then pay your hospital bills when you're going to be in a hospital, when you're going to be in a nursing home at 72, 73 years old. And this guy is doing it, So that idea of prevention is so much easier than trying to make a change later on, right? So when you're, let's say it's just, an addiction to food or sugar or anything like that, and you're gaining weight and you think, okay, well, I'll just wait until I'll start in January. I got a few more months left in the year. I'm going to get through the holidays, start in January. January rolls around and you don't do anything about it, right? So much harder to make that change after you're
guilty of that. I've done that.
Right. We all are.
Monday. Well, I'll do it
Monday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, exactly. But and that's kind of what I tell people is, like, don't focus on the long term of, how long it's going to take me, how long this road is, and if it is something like addiction, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to go do treatment for 30 days. 30, okay, yeah, that if you look at it like that, that is hard. 30 days is hard. 60 days, 90 days, that is a long time. Don't look at it like that. I always think of these, the Navy SEALs that they talk about, who do the best in their recruit class. It's 6 months long. The ones who do the best are the people who break it up into small bite-sized pieces, right? So instead of saying, how can I do this for 6 months? I'm exhausted on day one. I can't do this for 6 months. The guys who say, I just need to make it to the next meal. I just need to make it one day. One guy, I read this article and the guy said, he was a Navy SEAL, and he said, I told myself all I have to do is see 180 sunsets, and I made it through. And everyone, he checks off the list, right? And the next thing you know, you're 180 days in and you look back and say, whoa, I did it, and it's just building blocks on each other, right? So I think that kind of breaking it up into small bite-sized pieces and prevention, prevention is the best cure for anything. What's the best way to stop an addiction, to fill in the blank, not starting in the first place. And I know it sounds cheesy, but like you said, is sometimes whoever's watching this, they might not even have realized that they've made that decision a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. It was just something they did. I never did drugs. I never did drugs, but it wasn't anything where I was like, I'm never going to do drugs. I'm making a stand. I'm signing this pledge. I'm taking this, it was just something. I had friends who did drugs. I hung out with those friends, but it was just something I was never going to do. And then if you were to tell, my 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old self, I would have said, oh yeah, I guess I made that decision also. And that's, like you said, is it doesn't need to be this, when you're in that situation, whether you're feeling peer pressure or you're feeling you want to fit in or whatever, it doesn't need to be this big, hey, I don't do drugs and I'm not judging you. It doesn't need to be a big thing. It can just be that, man, I would love to, but I get drug tested. So make it funny, hey, I get drug tested. So I gotta keep this thing going. So, hey, do you? No one's going to care. No one is going to care, but make the best decision for you. Be your own person. Be who you are made to be, not what anyone else is making you to be.
Yeah. You were talking about sort of stacking up that one sunset at a time, that like incremental stuff, and that overlaps with our positive reinforcement a lot as well, because the sort of cornerstone of drug-free clubs is that the drug test is there as the tool to be a safety net for you when you get an offer, but really the sort of internal piece of it is the positive reinforcement and that belief set that we continue to build. And it's not with some big speaker event. It's not with a big, huge thing. It's with little drips of, we're proud of you. Great job. I care. I hear from your community, your family, your school, all of this positive reinforcement, so that over time you have realized all of these things that you can be proud of. And I think that you probably have a similar philosophy with that.
Yeah, I think positive reinforcement is definitely better than negative reinforcement.
Sure.
I think, like you said, is those little things, right? Like, and at the gym, I always try to remember people's names, right? So I remember their name. I use their name, and I think that there's power in that. Then all of a sudden the other day, I'm looking at someone, I see their before picture. They've been with us like 6 months, and I say, man, you look phenomenal. Do you know that? How much weight have you lost? It's like, oh, like 35, 40 pounds. Like, thank you for noticing. Like, man, you look great, And it's just like those building blocks, right? And then and then the next time I see him, it's like, hey man, you did great in that workout. You really pushed hard. You did great. Keep it up, man. I can't wait to see you on Monday. But just those little tiny things. Doesn't need to be this huge thing 6 months down the road, but just those little touches here and there, a couple of times a week that just stack on each other, right? That changes somebody's mindset. It gives them it gives them the power that they believe in themselves. And then all of a sudden they get to that point 6 months down the road and they realize, okay, now, I have done this, I can do this, and I will do this, right?
Right.
I think positive reinforcement is huge.
Yeah, and it just spills over so well into mental health,
Yeah.
a variety of things, not just in being proud of yourself, but how you had talked about anxiety and things along those lines. So could you touch on the overlap between exercise and just mental health in general? Because in our program, we focus on that a lot inside of our office. We don't do a lot of outer facing things like marketing, stuff like that,
Right.
talking about mental health. But inside of our office, we talk about that a lot. How does this transfer into overall better mental health?
Right. So it's kind of this funny, like counterintuitive type thing, where people think, like, oh, I hate working out. I hate sweating. I don't want to be sore. I don't want to have to be somewhere at a certain time. And there's all these like negatives that we build up in our mind, right? We make it worse than it is. And I always tell people there is this secret barrier around the gym. Okay. It's an invisible barrier, but there's something that happens between making that decision and stepping over that threshold the first time. Because once you come there, you're like, wow, it's not intimidating at all. And wow, it's not scary. And I actually feel good now. And man, what is that? Why is my mood better? And all of a sudden you realize, wow, it's not all that we build it up to be. So whether, whatever it is, whatever that exercise is, it can be a gym, it can be swimming, running, jogging, walking, whatever it is, do whatever is best for you. Some people are into team sports. Some people are into single sports, play tennis, play golf, get part of a league of something, go play softball, meet some new people, right? But get plugged in. But that exercise, it makes us feel good. Chemically in our brains, we have a release of endorphins and dopamine and things like that kind of do change our moods. And our purpose statement at Hard Exercise Works is we want to challenge our people to become the best versions of themselves. I'm not trying to, get someone to go to the Olympics or have the best exerciser in the world or get someone to lift 1,000 pounds over their heads. Like, if that's what they want to do, I'll challenge you to do that. But right. But it's not, if anyone wants to run a 150-mile race, I will challenge you to do that. I expect you to be on that relay team next year, Angie. But
nope, I work the finish line.
Yeah, I'll work the start line and you work the finish line.
And there you go.
But we just want to challenge people to become the best versions of themselves, right? So it's just, I know that I am a better dad, a better husband, better firefighter, a better employer. I'm a better person when I go to the gym. And even something as simple as one day, this is like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe, I've been a member of this gym for 8.5 years. My wife and I both have been. We've been the owners for our 5-year anniversary was like 2 days ago, and and I was just running around with the kids, and I'm lifting them up, and I'm swinging them in the yard, and I'm throwing them up in the air, and I'm realizing like, hey, like, I'm able to do this because I go to the gym, right? I have that mindset that when I come home after a long shift at the fire department, and I go to the gym in the morning, I have more energy. I have more energy when I exercise than when I don't, right? So there's days where, maybe I can't make it on a Friday and I can't make it on a Saturday. We're closed Sundays. And all of a sudden you realize, man, like I need to get to the gym just for my mental health. Right. And it's not even like it's nothing about a body image thing. It's nothing about your weight or weight loss. It's never a number on the scale. It's about how you feel. That's what I always tell people. I mean, scales are the enemy. Like, because it doesn't matter about what the number is on the scale. It matters is how you feel. And if you just show up to the gym, high five 5 people, someone says something great to you, have a great day, you get a little sweat going, you feel better about yourself. right? And it just exudes, it just overflows into everything else you do in your life, right? It goes into your family life, it goes into your friendships, it goes into your relationships, it goes into your relationships with your parents, with your kids, and everything around, right? So when you feel better about yourself, you can bring that joy to other people. So I think the mental health aspect of it, I mean, honestly, to be honest, I think exercising helps more for your mental health than really it does for physical or anything like that. Of course, we all want to be in shape. Everyone wants to have, as you get older in life, you start worrying about your cholesterol and blood pressure and those kind of things. Those are great. But the mental health is the most important thing, right? Because if you don't have that mental health that gives you that drive that you want to exercise, you want to be healthy, you want to make healthy choices, then you start making poor choices, whether it's in food, sugar, alcohol, drugs, addiction, whatever it is, you start making poor choices, and then that just stacks blocks on it the wrong way. And then it's just now we're just trying to tread water and carrying those blocks that we're doing, and you'll go underwater, you'll sink, you can't do it. So I think just coming to the gym, going out for a jog, going out for a walk your dog, walk with your family, walk with your parents, walk with your kids, whatever it is, just get out there and you'll realize that you feel better about yourself, and it changes your mental space.
Yeah, I think I have an 18-year-old myself, and I see so much stress that she endures. She's leaving for University of Tennessee in August, and just to think about everything that she went through with exams and finding your university and seeking scholarships and all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These and even what I witnessed with drug-free clubs with our members, they are under so much stress, and anything that can be done to help them just decompress and get rid of some of
Mm-hmm.
that stress, because these teens are just overwhelmed. There's so much on them that is very different from even when we were in school, and even the generation between. It's just
Mm-hmm.
they have so much pressure on their shoulders. So anything like our positive reinforcement, working out, anything that can help them just be like, okay, I'm enough, I'm
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's great.
That is a great statement, is I am enough. And that is what I would tell people, is just no one is ever going to tell you otherwise. That you have to say it out loud, believe it, that I am enough, right?
Yeah.
That you were made perfect, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you are made perfect. And you need to have that mindset that I am enough. No one is going to tell you otherwise. If anyone tells you negative, and it goes back to the drug thing. When you haven't been doing drugs for 10 years and someone offers you drugs, you're just like, no, like why would I ever do drugs?
I
Like,
worked so
no,
hard to get to this point. Why are you offering
yeah,
me something that's going to
like
take it all away from me?
exactly. Like I would never, like that you just you're wasting your breath by even asking that. But when it comes to when it comes to stress, and I feel like I agree with you that this generation, I feel like, I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, I don't want to date myself. I don't know who's watching this, but cell phones were really not a thing. There was no Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, MySpace, like none of that stuff, right? But I feel like kids in this generation, in their teens now, that's what they turn to. They turn to those things, which tells you all you see is that perfect life of people, and you don't know what people are going through, right? But when you can, you got to get your stress out some way. And some people, hey, they might do it through art, through music, and that is amazing. And do it, get your stress out some way. But there's definitely something to be said about going to a gym, exercising, swimming, getting on a treadmill, elliptical, whatever it can be, that sweat that you feel, you start to feel better about yourself. And I just tell people, start somewhere. When somebody comes to the gym their first day, I tell them for their first week, do half of everything. If it's a 20-minute workout, do a 10 or 12-minute workout. Just do something, right? And then that's part of stacking those blocks. Because after their first week, they say, I think I can do that full 20-minute workout. Great. And they do it. And then the next day, I think I could add maybe 5 more pounds, or, hey, see, how many burpees can we do in a minute? Let's say that's the workout. Hey, I think you can do 10. I'm going to try to do 12, that kind of thing. And just stacks those little wins upon each other. But you got to get your stress out. You have to get your stress out for your mental space. And that is where that kind of carving that time out for yourself is great. I know there's a guy, I've read some of his books. His name's Jesse Itzler. He's a trip. His wife is Sarah Blakely. She owns Spanx, and
Mhm.
he's a trip,
I'm like,
you
yeah,
know, but
yeah,
he
I know.
says,
So, yeah.
yeah, and he's great. I mean, he's got some really funny stories, and he's like kind of one of those guys that wants to like test himself. He runs races, like real long races by himself, 100-mile races. He invited a Navy SEAL to live with him for 30 days just to like see if he can mentally do it. And he's great. But he talks about like every day he takes like 3 hours for himself, you know, throughout the day.
Three
He's like, I give,
hours.
well, because
Wow.
he's like, okay, he's like, so I give 8 hours to sleeping, 8 hours to work. Okay. You know, he's like, I give to family. And it's not, he's not saying like, okay, I'm gonna get a massage today and then for 1 hour and
Right,
then another,
right.
you know, but it might be exercising, it might be reading a book in bed, you know, it might be whatever it is, it's for himself. Whatever, if he, you know, if he wants to make music, he might do that for 20-30 minutes, but he tries to really take 3 hours out of his day for things for him. Could be a nap, it could be a jog, could be a run, whatever it is, but he needs that for his mental space. And he says, when I'm able to go on, I mean, he's one of those guys, he just goes out and runs 10-15 miles every single day, right? And he'll say, when I'm able to go do that kind of thing, and I'm able to get to the gym, and I'm able to do all these things just for a few hours here and there. Sometimes it might mean waking up at 6 in the morning and going for an hour run, or it might mean, you know, reading a book late at night when I'm in bed, you know, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. But those things make me be a better dad. Those things make me a better husband, a better employer, a better entrepreneur, whatever it is, it makes them better. And just taking that time for yourself. So, you know, for your daughter, you know, going to college and everything, you studied, you've done it. You know, I mean, I know this is the starting line of college, but you've done it. You've gotten the scholarships. You've worked your tail off for 4 years in college or in high school. You've you know, been studying for ACTs, SATs, all the SAT, all the ATs, all the 3-letter
Everything.
words, you know,
Yeah.
all your exams, graduation, all that stress that is on you. You got to get it out somehow, because otherwise you're going to be like a volcano that just erupts sometime. And kind of tying it back to, you know, the fire department, just I mean, there were some things that I would see and I wouldn't know, and I would, no big deal, I see that every day, no big deal. I remember this one time I was like a volcano and I lost it. I was yelling at this, like, I mean, I hate to say it, I was like yelling at like this like little old lady, kind of, you know, she wanted us to do
Jerk.
something that like yeah, right, I am a jerk, but you know, I was like, you know, she wanted us to do something so mundane that should have been like, yeah, absolutely, let me serve you. And I was like, you know, that's not what we're here for, you know, that's not what we do, why are you calling us for this? And then my lieutenant was great, he really got, you know, like, hey, come over here, man. He didn't like rebuke me, you know, kind of, hey, come over here. He's like, hey man, he's like, I think that's like, I think you got some PTSD going on. I think, you know, hey, and I was like, whoa, like I didn't, why did I yell at her? You know, and I caught it in the moment. But it's
Yeah.
things like that that we think, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. Yeah. Oh, no problem. I can take on that extra task at work. Sure. I can do extra clubs. I can do an extra, you know, study session. Oh, I'm going to study all night. I'm going to pull an all nighter, write this paper, but you have to get your stress out some way. And I think a great way to do that is through exercise, mental health, eating healthy, getting good sleep. You have to focus on that kind of thing.
Right, right. Just even having the skill to be able to recognize that it's needed is a great first step. So
100%.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Has been a great conversation. And, you know, when we were very first talking, there's this sort of thought about like, well, what's the point between Drug Free Clubs of America and Hard Exercise Works? Like, what's the overlap here?
Right.
So, number one, the firefighter thing. So that's just a natural. Thank you so much for doing that, especially in the department that you were in, the amount of runs and devastation that you saw and served your community.
Right.
It's amazing. And I know the gym that you guys have built up is really based on community and relationships. So in a sense, you're still serving in that capacity. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. And thank you for your insight that hopefully we've helped some people today just to understand ways that they can get their stress out and be proud of the little building blocks that they're doing along the way and stay drug free and healthy.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. Thank you for having me on here today, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. And I
Thanks.
think the positive reinforcement is just such a powerful thing. And I love that concept of just, you know, you'll look back and say, man, I didn't realize I kind of made that decision, and it's been 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and that is going to set you on such a better trajectory for life than any. I mean, there's so much stress that comes on in life. You know, if anybody is watching this and they're in their early teens or anything like that, there are so many more stressors that are going to come on your way that are just going to come down the road that you don't need to add anything to that. Just make a healthy choice today that just moves that needle 1 degree towards your desired future, right? Think wherever you be, wherever you want to go, wherever you see yourself. Well, whoever's watching this today, wherever you want to see yourself in 10, 20, 30 years, just what do you have to do to move that needle 1 degree today? Maybe that's a decision you make to say yes to something or no to something. Maybe that's something that you need to better yourself with, a book, an exercise, just something. Just do something today that can move that needle 1 degree towards your desired future.
Yeah. Yeah. And great for adults to do too. Maybe I'll do that today. Think about 10 years from now and what can I do today to make that little incremental change
Yeah.
and see how it goes. So that's great advice. That's a
And
great way to start.
that's just it. That's exactly it. Whatever you want to, wherever you want to be in 10 years, I want this to be true 2031. And then
Right.
what do you have to do today to make that happen? It could be buying your first house. And you say, 5 years from now, I want to buy my first house. It doesn't need to be, I need to save $10,000 today. Maybe I put $5 in a jar. And then tomorrow I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. Next thing you know, you'll see those things, those little wins start to stack up. That's what it's all about. So thank you for having me on. I love it. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We'll chat again soon.